In this video, guys, let's look at the age-old question of where to put your stop after a breakout if you're in a breakout trade. Let's try and answer it. Stick around. Hey traders, warm welcome to you. All right, check out our channel sponsors, the link's in the description, and go and check it out. But in this video, guys, we are going to talk about where you put your stop on a breakout trade. God, this is kind of the age-old question that will go down in time. In fact, the Romans used to think exactly. No, they didn't really. I'm kidding you. Right, okay, where do you put your stop in a breakout trade? So, breakout scenario, you've got a trade here. It's gone through a key level, whatever that level is, and you're in the deal. Great. So you go, well, how do I manage this trade? How do I give it enough room to kind of pull back and do the kind of things it wants? Because we know that, very often price will pull back a little bit, maybe test that support before it goes on again, or is that indicative of a weak breakout? What's the deal? So some ideas of how to manage it. Now, that being said, I'm a big fan of positioning before the break, if at all possible. I don't like, sometimes depends on the conditions, but I don't like much, or very often should I say, taking a long or a short on the actual break because of this exact problem. By the time you get filled, where do you do it? I prefer to try to position maybe like on this type of thing here would be my preferred thing, and then my stop's going to be here, and then I'm probably trading some into the break, but that's by the by. And I've done a video I talked about that exclusively anyway. However, where do we do it? So number one is, do we put it under the breakout level, which is be here? Now the problem you've got with that is you're probably in a losing position here, because if you take the breakout, you're going to be in just as it goes through the high, and then as it comes back, you're going to be losing. And also, very often, price will retest that level. Imagine this is a kind of bigger zoomed out thing of it. There's your support level. Price will often come through, wick a bit, and come back up on a short time frame and what time frame you're trading. So I'm not a big fan of that. I know some people like to do that, but I'm not a big fan. Under the last support, now this is a little bit better, but the danger is the stop's quite wide. So this will be the last support here. You go bum, 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 bum. And I like that because that's where I'd have my stop if I was preempting the breakout, but your risk order ratio might not be acceptable enough. You might be going, okay, well, there's my risk and my reward is only going to be kind of here. Is that enough? Well, actually, no, your risk isn't there, is it? That would be a breakout. Your risk would be here. Is that enough? 1-to-1, probably not. Am I feasibly going to get 2-to-1? Oh, if I am, then okay, but that's a little bit wide sometimes. So I'm not too much of a fan of that. A function of ATR. Now this is, not looking at price from a technical perspective, but it's more saying, okay, what's the average true range? What's the volatility like of the market? What's the width and the average expectancy of the range? And then a function of that. 30%, 10%, 20%, whatever it may be, and just having that as a fixed level, because you're basically saying, okay, this is noise. Noise is my ATR, function of ATR. I'm going to put it just outside noise. I'm not a huge fan of that because I think you're not really aligning with the market conditions, but it's okay. I'd rather err on the side of width with the stop to accommodate some choppiness and some noise than try and tighten things too much. So smaller position size, width, and then when price goes in your favor, you can start to tighten things up. So you've got the biggest risk in the first part of the trade, and as it starts to go in your favor, you can start to ratchet things up. So, maybe you have it down here and give it a bit of width, then perhaps it does all this, then maybe it goes in your direction, and you go, right, now I can bring it up to kind of just under this low here or just under this low here. I can tighten the game up a bit. Just want to see it, give it a bit of breathing room at the beginning, let it go, and then tighten up a bit. And then when it's trail, so, moving average trail, something like that. Again, okay, but maybe a bit too focused and a bit too, you just can get caught out with this kind of stuff. What I prefer to do is use a little bit of a mixture of all these. I prefer to say, okay, let me have a wide stop in the beginning. Again, this is why I'm not a huge fan of breakouts, but this is how I trade them. If I'm trading them, let's say bear market, push through lows, I'll happily sell into lows if we're like I'm an index trade or something. I like to take some off if I get a quick move it's in my direction. I like to take some of the risk off to pay for the trade a little bit. So if I take the trade on this breakout here, for example, let's kind of zoom in a bit here. I like to try to take some off in kind of very short time. So the breakout continues, see that sense in turn and just take a bit off, because that pays and allows me to have a little bit of wider stop and not feel so uncomfortable. Now, some people are like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Why are you doing that? But for me, I just like to kind of pay for the risk a little bit by using my short-term ability to read that turning point and grab that. So there's that. But then a wider stop and let it do one cycle and rotation. So whatever that may be. So imagine the drive is the initial one. So this is kind of your number one here, you move. Whatever it does after that is number two. And then once it's finished that, that's when I'll put my stop in. So I've got my ultimately wide stop, wherever that may be, to allow for this to just completely reverse and be a fake out. But I've also then will wait and see what happens. If that bounces off that support, then my stop goes there. If it moves up and flags at highs, then my stop goes there. So I'm dynamic depending on what the conditions are and what the price action does. So I wait for the breakthrough, that's one. I wait for phase two, whether that's a continuation of flag, or it's a pullback, whether it's a complete reversal. If it's a complete reversal, I get stopped out. Once it finds a low after that phase two, then I'll bring the stop up. Because in the day, guys, the thesis is for momentum, right? You're trading breakout, you're trading momentum. You're waiting for some kind of signal to get on board. So you don't really want to see it pulling back, pushing up, pulling back, stalling. Now they do tend to go, they can go, and you can, sit there and wait with it. But this way you're taking some profit, you're banking some profit, using that to pay for some of the risk. So worst case scenario, if you obviously, of course, sometimes you buy the high and it comes back and it stops you out at a full stop. That's life, that's trading. But if you can get that momentum early on, you can get a bit off the table, pay for the stop, allows the stop to be a little bit wider, wait for phase two to occur, then bring the stop up, you tend to be in a kind of no risk situation then. And if you're on something that's got a lot of momentum, great, you get many multiples of R out of it. And if it peters out and fakes out, which a lot of these breakouts do, you're not going to do a lot of damage. The danger you have when trading breakouts is that you've got quite a lot of risk and you're buying at highs, And very often, guys, this is liquidity hunting. It's just hunting for liquidity, and then once it finds it, it backs off. So you've got to kind of, we're going off piste here and talk about this topic of the right conditions, but conditions have got to be right for it. But something to consider. I like that type of strategy. How do you like to position your stop on a breakout trade? Let me know in the comment section below. Maybe it helps some others out. Take care. Bye-bye.